Welcome back to our channel, your ultimate destination for all the latest drama, twists, and shocking revelations from the world of daytime television. Today is a beautiful day to dive deep into the glamorous yet treacherous lives of our favorite Los Angeles fashion dynasties. Grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let us unpack the explosive events heading your way. The Bold and the Beautiful is preparing to deliver an unforgettable episode this Friday, August 14th, 2026, and the emotional stakes have truly never been higher. As the glittering, sun-drenched shores of Monaco serve as a stark contrast to the dark, crumbling foundations of a once unshakable marriage, the fallout from recent betrayals is rippling all the way back to the bustling executive offices of Forrester Creations in Los Angeles. At the center of this impending storm are two individuals who are currently drowning in their own respective oceans of heartbreak, Carter Walton and Steffy Forrester Finnegan. The writers are meticulously setting the stage for a collision of epic proportions, weaving together two separate tragedies of love, loss, and profound misunderstanding. Let us begin by examining the devastating psychological unraveling of Daphne Rose Walton. For weeks, viewers have watched this brilliant, capable woman struggle to process a medical diagnosis that has fundamentally altered her perception of her own future and her worth as a wife. Learning about her severe infertility and premature menopause was a crushing blow, not just because it shattered her personal dreams of motherhood, but because she knows how desperately Carter has always yearned for a family of his own. Daphne is currently trapped in a suffocating spiral of guilt, convinced that by staying married to Carter, she is selfishly denying him the one thing he has always wanted. This toxic guilt is blinding her to the reality of his unconditional devotion. In Friday's deeply emotional episode, Daphne's internal agony will push her to make a drastic, life-altering decision. Convinced that she is a burden and that leaving is the ultimate act of love, Daphne announces her intention to flee to Paris. She is operating under the tragic delusion that Carter is married to her reproductive capabilities rather than her heart and soul. If Carter truly wanted a child above all else, he could have pursued adoption or surrogacy long ago, but he chose Daphne because she is the love of his life. Unfortunately, Daphne's current mental state prevents her from seeing this logic. She believes that by removing herself from his life, she is setting him free, when in reality, she is merely tearing his heart into a million irreparable pieces. Faced with the sudden and horrifying prospect of losing his wife, Carter Walton will step up and make a desperate, impassioned vow. He will look Daphne in the eyes and swear to stand by her side, promising to help her navigate this excruciating chapter of their lives through whatever means necessary. Carter is a man of deep integrity and boundless loyalty, and he is determined to prove that his love is not conditional upon her ability to bear children. However, his beautiful, heartfelt reassurances may fall on deaf ears. Daphne is actively pushing him away, building an impenetrable fortress around her wounded heart, and Carter is left desperately pounding on the gates, terrified of what will happen if she actually boards that flight to Paris. The underlying tragedy of Daphne's storyline is the very real, very insidious nature of functional depression. She is not simply shedding tears into her pillow. She is making rapid, impulsive, and catastrophic decisions about her future without fully thinking them through. This sudden urge to abandon her marriage and flee the country is a glaring red flag, signaling a severe deterioration in her mental health. The hormonal shifts associated with her diagnosis are likely exacerbating her emotional turmoil, pushing her further into a dark abyss where she truly believes she is worthless. Carter is watching the woman he loves slip away into the shadows of depression, and his vow to save her might not be enough to combat the demons she is currently battling inside her own mind. While Carter fights a losing battle to save his marriage in Los Angeles, an entirely different kind of marital apocalypse is unfolding on the luxurious beaches of Monaco. John Finnegan is currently standing in the wreckage of his own making, utterly confused and profoundly devastated after his wife, Steffy Forrester Finnegan, abruptly fled the scene. The romantic getaway that was supposed to heal their fractured relationship has instead become the site of its potential demise, all thanks to the looming, inescapable shadow of Sheila Carter. Finn is struggling to comprehend how quickly the situation escalated, his mind reeling from the sheer velocity of Steffy's volcanic wrath and her subsequent, shocking departure. To fully understand the gravity of the situation in Monaco, we must dissect the explosive confrontation that just took place on the sand. When Steffy discovered Sheila lurking on the beach, her reaction was not merely anger. It was a visceral, trauma-induced explosion. Steffy's PTSD regarding Sheila is a deep, unhealed wound, and seeing her mother-in-law invading her safe haven triggered a primal fight-or-flight response. However, instead of standing united with his wife against the woman who once left them both for dead in a dark alleyway, Finn made a catastrophic error in judgment. He offered a slight defense of Sheila, perhaps attempting to de-escalate the situation or mediate between the two women he loves. In Steffy's eyes, Finn's hesitation, his mild defense of the monster who has tormented their family for years, was the ultimate betrayal. It did not matter that Sheila was the one who orchestrated this ambush, tracking Finn's flight and forcing her way into their vacation. All Steffy saw was her husband failing to protect her, failing to draw a hard line in the sand. She did not stick around to listen to his explanations or his desperate pleas. In a moment of pure, unadulterated soap opera drama, Steffy ripped her wedding ring off her finger and shoved it forcefully into Finn's chest, a physical manifestation of her shattered trust and her refusal to tolerate his divided loyalties any longer. Finn is now left standing alone on the beach, staring at the ring that symbolizes his broken promises, while the reality of his situation crashes over him like the incoming tide. He genuinely believed that he could manage Sheila, that he could somehow balance his biological connection to his mother with his absolute devotion to his wife. But Steffy's dramatic exit has proven that this balancing act is entirely impossible. Finn's confusion is heartbreaking, yet it is also a testament to his dangerous naivety. He failed to realize that when it comes to Sheila Carter, there is no middle ground, and his attempt to find one may have just cost him the love of his life and the family he holds so dear. Meanwhile, thousands of feet in the air, Steffy Forrester Finnegan is trapped in a metal tube, flying commercial back to Los Angeles, and self-medicating with a steady stream of alcohol. The first-class cabin offers no comfort as she wrestles with a chaotic storm of emotions. Her mind is racing, replaying the confrontation on the beach on an endless, agonizing loop. She is trying desperately to make sense of the twisted, inexplicable connection between Finn and Sheila. How could the man she loves, the father of her child, continue to show even a sliver of compassion for a woman who is the embodiment of pure evil? The alcohol is doing little to numb the searing pain of what she perceives as his ultimate betrayal. As Steffy stares out the window into the endless expanse of clouds, she is forced to confront her own deeply ingrained behavioral patterns. Why is her first instinct always to run? Whenever the pressure mounts, whenever Finn steps out of line regarding his mother, Steffy packs her bags and flees. She refuses to stay and communicate, refuses to listen to his side of the story. While her trauma is entirely valid and her fear of Sheila is completely justified, her inability to face the conflict head-on without resorting to dramatic ultimatums and physical escapes is a glaring flaw. She is acting out of pure, unbridled emotion, allowing her fear to dictate her actions rather than approaching the crisis with the maturity and resilience of the powerful CO she claims to be. The tragedy of Steffy's flight home is that she is running away from the problem rather than solving it, leaving a massive void of miscommunication in her wake. By throwing the ring in Finn's face and storming off, she has effectively shut down any possibility of a rational dialogue. She has built an impenetrable emotional wall, convinced that Finn is entirely at fault and that her departure is the only logical response. But as the alcohol fuels her righteous indignation, a tiny voice in the back of her mind might be questioning if she overreacted. Did she jump to conclusions? Did she punish Finn for Sheila's psychotic obsession? These are the questions that will haunt her as the plane inches closer to the tarmac in Los Angeles. The narrative brilliance of this upcoming episode lies in the tragic parallel between Steffy and Carter. Both of these beloved characters are currently experiencing the agonizing collapse of their respective marriages, albeit for vastly different reasons. Steffy is fleeing a husband who cannot sever ties with a dangerous past, while Carter is desperately clinging to a wife who is pushing him away out of a misguided sense of guilt. As Steffy's flight descends into Los Angeles, she is carrying a heavy burden of anger, betrayal, and profound sadness. She is returning to a home that suddenly feels empty, seeking solace and an escape from the relentless pressure of her complicated personal life. The writers are expertly maneuvering these two broken souls onto a direct collision course. When a deeply distressed, emotionally exhausted, and slightly inebriated Steffy arrives back in Los Angeles, her first stop will likely be the familiar sanctuary of Forrester Creations. She will be looking for a distraction, a place to ground herself after the chaos of Monaco. But instead of finding peace in the executive office, she is going to find Carter Walton, a man who is equally devastated, equally lost, and reeling from the news that Daphne is abandoning their marriage for a life in Paris. Two people, drowning in sorrow, suddenly finding themselves alone in the quiet aftermath of their shattered lives. Misery, as they say, loves company, and the shared pain between Steffy and Carter is about to create a highly combustible atmosphere. Carter, usually the voice of reason and the pillar of stability, is currently broken by Daphne's rejection. Steffy, the fierce and independent Forrester matriarch, is emotionally raw and seeking validation after Finn's perceived betrayal. As they sit together in the dimly lit office, pouring drinks to numb their respective heartaches, the professional boundaries that have always defined their relationship will begin to blur. They will confide in one another, sharing the intimate details of their marital failures, finding an unexpected and dangerous comfort in their mutual suffering. The alcohol will undoubtedly act as a catalyst, lowering their inhibitions and heightening their vulnerability. Steffy will vent her volcanic frustrations about Finn and Sheila, finding a sympathetic ear in Carter, who understands the pain of loving someone who continually breaks your heart. In turn, Carter will open up about Daphne's depression and her cruel decision to leave, finding solace in Steffy's fierce loyalty and understanding. As the drinks continue to flow and the emotional intimacy deepens, the atmosphere will shift from platonic commiseration to something far more electric and undeniable. The proximity, the shared grief, and the desperate need to feel something other than pain will draw them inexorably closer together. Will this shared moment of profound vulnerability lead to a scandalous, drunken mistake? The stage is perfectly set for a passionate kiss, or perhaps an even more heated encounter, born not necessarily out of genuine romantic love, but out of a desperate, mutual need for comfort and validation. A hookup between Steffy and Carter would send massive shockwaves through the entire canvas of the bold and the beautiful, complicating their lives in ways they cannot even begin to imagine. It would be a betrayal that neither Finn nor Daphne would easily forgive, adding a massive layer of guilt and secrecy to an already volatile situation. The fallout from such a transgression would be absolutely catastrophic for everyone involved. As we look ahead to this explosive Friday episode, the anticipation is palpable. We are witnessing the systematic deconstruction of two major relationships, paving the way for a brand new, highly controversial dynamic. Can Finn possibly find a way to repair the massive damage he has done to his marriage? Or is Steffy truly gone for good this time? Will Carter's desperate vows be enough to pull Daphne back from the brink of her functional depression, or will her departure push him straight into Steffy's waiting arms? The dramatic tension is reaching a boiling point, and the consequences of these impending decisions will forever alter the landscape of Forrester Creations and the lives of the people who run it. Make sure you tune in, because you will not want to miss a single second of this heartbreaking, edge-of-your-seat drama.